interesting for people that watch shows like this. So the historical and the political aspects as well together.
But also reverse engineering, in other words, taking a situation today and explaining it in the past. Where does it come from and where does it fit into Islam?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not a coincidence that people are interested in Islam right now and not in, say, Buddhism or Sikhism or something like that.
I think for me, once my interest peaked a couple of years back when I was sitting in front of an old friend of mine, and I didn't actually realize how sort of religion was still a factor when he said to me, when we were talking about evolution, and he came with, "I didn't come from a monkey," and I was just so surprised. I was thinking, really, in this day and age, and I suddenly realized it was as much an identity game as it was as much anything else. But I mean, obviously, he's somehow managed to convince himself that he couldn't possibly have come from a low-life animal. From that moment onwards, I was just trying to seek out avenues to talk about this without causing offence, which is getting a lot easier to do, it seems.
Wow. And Ace, what about you? What do you see as the most promising avenue for the Gin and Tonic show to go?
Hello, what was the question?
What I'd like to know from people is, what would you see as the most interesting topics that we should tackle on the Gin and Tonic show? What should a Gin and Tonic show do, and what should it be about? Okay, we're not going to sit here and be quiet, that's for sure. I think either you've muted your mic or you are not responding because something is wrong with it. There you go.
Hello?
Yep, hear you loud and clear.
I think we just should talk about the current issues and in the Muslim world where they're involved in politics, or whenever some sort of fatwa issue that is ridiculous.
Okay, so you'd also like to see the reason why things are happening today in Islam. Is that correct?
Yeah. Because sometimes we don't see the political side that is pushing the Islamization of this of the Muslim countries.
Okay. Now, I would have selected as video of the week a video. It's a pity that Rationalizer left again, because I saw he just joined us. Because he actually sent me a video of Tom Holland, where he is talking about the de-radicalization of Muhammad. And that would have been my video of the week for today, but obviously we don't have the normal format today. So I do not know how many people have actually watched this. This is like almost 1 hour. Sorry?
The de-radicalization of Muhammad?
Yes.
Okay.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely stunning, because what he does, he deconstructs all the politically correct la-di-da-di talk that we are hearing so much when people are misquoting the Quran and saying, okay, if you kill one man, it's like you killed all mankind, and all this bullshit that people spout who don't know Islam, who don't know the Quran. And he says, okay, what is IS doing that Muhammad did not do? And this is the whole point. A lot of people today are still taking an extremist point of view, and for an extremist point of view, we, or moderate Muslims, non-Muslims, we are the ones who are extremists, because all that they are trying to do is lead a life according to Muhammad. And then what they are seeing is, I'm trying to lead a life which is going to give me salvation, which is going to get me to heaven, and I'm just following the role model Muhammad. And if I kill people, well, I'm doing it for my God. So if I behead somebody, it's not actually me beheading this person. It's my God who's telling me and who will reward me. And there is a reason why the God tells me that I should behead this person. And then he said what we need to do now is we need to de-radicalize Muhammad and say, well, what Muhammad did in those days, like marry a 6-year-old when he was 50 and had sex with her when he was 54, that this is not a role model behavior today. So
like they need telling.
Well, Muslims are adjusting to the morality of today because they are suddenly saying, well, no, it's not true, and blah, blah, blah. So they are just as embarrassed about it as everybody else would be.
I would say that the generation of my parents, my mother, should I say, would obviously not be into that kind of thing. But I think this sort of excuse making is this literal fundamentalism. It's very very new.
There's also a problem when you say that about Muhammad, because if you say that child marriage is no longer a modern thing, then it shows that Muhammad is not a role model for all times.
Exactly. And this is the point that Tom Holland was making in his lecture, where he was saying we need to de-radicalize Muhammad and we need to adjust him to fit into the 21st century, which you can't do if you take the literal text.
We're not going to.
A way that you could do that, a way that you could like de-radicalize Muhammad, so to speak, is like in the United States, for example, you have this idea of, you know, the greatest generation. You know, those people who fought in World War II. And the idea is, of course, when people's like, why aren't, you know, the millennials or something like that acting like the people of the greatest generation? They're not saying, why are these people not invading France all the time or something like that? You know, they're obviously saying like, why are they have like moral principles or something like that? And in the same way, you could make the argument about Muhammad, like when you say you should be like Muhammad, it does not necessarily mean you should be fighting in the Levant all the time or something like that. I'm not saying that that is the that is a way that you could say de-radicalize Muhammad, like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is putting Muhammad into the context of the 21st century and not just seeing him as a cutthroat pirate all the time who went and plundered the caravans. That would be stupid to take that kind of a context for today's role of Muhammad. No. And this is what he said. What would Muhammad be doing today if he would be a prophet for Islam? Would he try and establish a caliphate in Syria and Iraq? Would he do the same thing? And this is exactly the point. Yes, he would, because this is the way that he was described in the text.
Well, so, one thing from listening to your shows, and I think I learned quite a lot, is that there's an important factor, is that Muhammad only like radicalized and became violent when he entered Medina. Am I correct?
According to the standard Muslim narrative, yes.
Yeah, so if he didn't, like, so you could say, well, the Medina part, the Medina part is the sort of, like, the secular political part that he just had to deal with. And the Mecca part is true teachings. You could make that argument in the same way that Christians make the argument that the Old Testament is just the context in which the New Testament and Jesus takes place. And then you don't have to take Leviticus and all those other horrible genocidal things.
Yeah, but the problem is, who's going to tell them that? It's not going to be them.
Well, it's at least then you have a plausible narrative that you can present them with.
Yeah, but you see, this has so many plot holes. Because first of all, you need to decide what parts of the Quran were established during the Medina phase and which ones came during the Mecca phase. So
it's all made up anyway.
It's a
human, but they don't think that.
Yeah, but it's a human arbitrary sort of division where they say the nice verses are from Mecca and the ugly ones are from Medina because he was attacked all the time and he had to defend himself and things like that.
Yeah, well, we think that's some nonsense, but
Yes.
you're not going to like change the world by saying, flipping the bird everywhere and saying all your religions are nonsense and you should just stop with it. But I forgot the guy's name, Majid Nawaz.
Nawaz, yes.
Yeah, he is a Muslim and can say like he's full shit or something like that. But no, he.
Yeah, but have you seen the reaction he gets from other Muslims? I mean, he gets a vociferously hostile reaction.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to always be the case, If you want Muslims behaving nicely, and you sort of recognize you're not going to get them out of their faith, then at least you can promote someone who's making a plausible narrative for interpreting the Quran, to say like, the violent political things, they were like for the.
But I think another issue. I mean, forgive me for being a skeptic here, but I mean, the issue is I think that Muslims see that as weakness. They see that as any sort of diverging from the script, any kind of Western, kowtowing or whatever you want to call it, is just seen as weakness.
Well, radicals might, but same goes for Christians. A lot of Christians say that denying that the world was created in 6 days or something like that is a sign of lack of faith. You take the man's knowledge above God's knowledge or some crap like that. But there are tons of Christians who don't take that approach, and you say, only you can sort of say like, if it's completely insane what it said, and it must be a metaphor or something like that. And if you can, I'm not saying that maybe it's stretching the text, but if you could get a large proportion of Muslims to think in that way, then at least the political anguish and anxiety and conflict that we have right now would be dissolved. And if that happens, who cares if there are Muslims at all? Why aren't they allowed to worship Allah?
Exactly, and I don't think that our goal here, or my goal anyway, is to deconvert Muslims. My goal and my role here is just to get people to think. And I'm not going to do that by going off and saying, look, there's no God, and Muhammad was a pedophile idiot, and that doesn't work. No, I go and I say, look, if I want to have a basis for a discussion, I will accept the narrative. I don't think Muhammad existed. I don't think there's any reason to believe that he existed the same way as Jesus. There's no reason to believe that Jesus existed. But if I speak to Christians, I will go and listen to them when they say, Jesus said this and this, and I will go and talk about what Jesus said, even though I don't believe that he really existed. The same thing is true for Muhammad. If I want a discussion, I will go and put my mind frame into the perspective that, yes, let me accept for argument's sake that a God exists. Let me accept for argument's sake that Muhammad existed. Let me accept the standard narrative that we hear from Muslims. So I will not argue against the basis because I'm interested in a discussion and learning about what Muslims do in the 21st century. And I will not get them to think by rejecting everything right from the word go.
Yeah, you're basically saying what. Yeah, I completely agree. I was only talking about the political dimension, what is actually a useful strategy to be going at when you're tackling radicalism, is not saying all your beliefs and your entire theology is baseless.
Right. And if I am seen as being weak, I don't mind. Because for me, the ulterior motive is not showing that I am strong and, oh my God, I'm I'm the loud atheist and things like that. No, my ulterior motive is to get people to think. So if I'm being seen as weak at the moment, I don't care. So what? As long as I can get people to think.
I think I kind of meant that, him as a Muslim is seen by other Muslims as weak, or as a liberal, a Western liberal that doesn't, that thinks he's a Muslim but actually isn't.
Yeah, as a puppet. He's seen as a puppet by some people. By some Muslims, They think that he has been indoctrinated. It's like, like a communist in the old days who was accepting some Western styles and things like wearing jeans and things like that.
Yeah,
he has been indoctrinated.
Or even, communists who said we should promote socialism through the democratic process. That was at some point extremely unpopular among radical communists. They said, no, the time is now. We should, literally terrorize and assault the ruling classes until there's a dictatorship of the proletariat. And I think that's the problem right now with Muslims, is that a lot of them feel like there's this strong urgency at the matter from, like, we are now establishing a caliphate, and if you don't toe the line, then you're against us. But of course, what you need to have is to create this environment where there's more freedom of communication. And I think people like I already forgot his name.
Majid.
Majid Nawaz. Oh, sorry. But he does get a lot of support. Not immense. Like, of course, it is shouted out by the people who try to kill him. But there are a lot of people who say, like, I agree with what you say and I really support you. And if you let those people go out, then maybe people will feel comfortable enough Muslims will feel comfortable enough to sort of congregate around people like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, he is seen as being too radical.
Yeah, by whom? By the radicals. But
yes.
Of course, the radicals, they toe the political agenda right now. They toe.
But again, the point is that if you draw a picture of Muhammad, you're seen as a radical.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the radicals right now, they claim to represent all Muslims. They say Muslims are offenders now. You offend 1.5 billion people on the globe, which is of course not true.
Sorry if I'm interrupting you, because then the Muslims who see other Muslims kill the people who are, like drawing cartoons, they are calling those Muslims radical. So you have a scale of highly moderate, let's call it moderate, or cultural Muslim, to radical fundamentalist Muslim on the other side, and you have 1.5 billion pieces in between, because every Muslim has its own version of Islam. So every Muslim, I think, is different. So there's no
and they're
one
all living
version.
under some tin pot people.
Yeah, but this sort of undermines the idea that true Islam is the radical version. It's just the radicals, they have they own the narrative at the moment. And
well, they're making the most noise, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. If you can sort of balance that out with more moderate, this is almost the cookie-cutter liberal idea. But I really believe that. I don't think that Muslims base what they think Islam is. I don't think they will naturally go to the radical side, to the Salafist side. I don't think that at all.
Yeah, but I think this
just like Christians don't naturally tend towards Westboro Baptist Christianity or something like that.
But you get them, so it must depend on something, and I think, and I maintain it.
Well, what is personality? I mean, personality is largely created by your environment.
Yeah, but you cannot, like I said this morning, I cannot be a homosexual. Okay, I cannot choose to be a homosexual because men simply don't do it for me. So, that there's biology involved as well. Whether you can be radical, I would never be able to shoot another person. So I would not be able to do that.
Your sexual attraction is just one bit of your personality. I mean, the fact the fact that you believe that, for instance, which I presume you do, that men and women are essentially equal in all relevant cases.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a feminist in that aspect.
Yeah. You wouldn't be that, or you had a much smaller chance to be that if you were born in Pakistan, for instance.
Yeah, but even in Pakistan, not every Muslim in Pakistan is radical and
No,
militant.
I don't believe. No. But I mean, like you would tend more towards conservatism. That's what I mean.
Exactly, and
Like
this is what I'm saying. So
and
it
this is what
depends
you're.
on the human being.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
certainly
what
got a lot worse in Pakistan over the last 30 years. I mean, my mother is from Pakistan, and it's become completely radicalized since I was born, basically, which is 79. It's got a lot worse. And I think the problem is that, you know, you have these radicals, they're in control, there's no education, and the middle classes are tiny, and they're the only moderates. They basically are sitting there without electricity with the rest of them, and it's ruled by a feudal bunch of landlords, and you're not going to get out of that when they're kowtowing to the Muslim crazy mullahs or whatever, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And what about Ace? Ace, you haven't said anything for a while. What kind of Muslims do you come across? What is your personal experience with what kind of a broad range do you know?
Well, it depends on which part of the country, and either they are educated or they live in around communities where are also conservative. But the majority of people, they are just trying to live their lives. But when it comes to Islam, a lot of them don't really understand. They only understand Islam from imams and from the khutbah and so on, because most of them don't really they don't understand what is in the Quran and Hadith. So for them, the idea of Islam is like this 7th century
set of rules or mindset.
Yeah, several, and the caliphate is what we should follow, because at the time is when the glorification of Islam.
Yeah, but hang on, you're in Southeastern Asia, right? Are you telling me that people would like to have a caliphate there as well?
Not a caliphate, but they say that these people should be an example. Whenever you want to make a decision about politics or how to conduct your life, you should refer to the teachings of scholars.
In the form of Sharia, then?
Not just Sharia, but in how you conduct your business, how you if you don't know what to do in your life, you should solat or pray to God. So basically, Islam is for them, Islam is something that it's more of a identity rather than the belief, because the belief is not really following the teachings of the Quran and Hadith.
That's what we have here as well.
It's shaping your personality as well.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can ask Ike, are you able to talk or just want to hang in there? Because now what would be interesting is to get your Central European perspective of Muslims. If you have the same thing in imams and in Muslims in Central Europe.
Specify your question.
Well, what Ace has just said is that it depends on the imam, what kind of an outlook, what kind of a mindset the person develops. Would you say the same is true in Central Europe?
It is hard to answer that because I don't know how it works in Asia or Africa or in the US or in South America. I can't say that. I can't compare it. What I see here in Europe, it's easy to say because there are so many groups and so many institutions and groupings who can't argue with one another and come to a real conclusion to make a big group, like a real ummah. I think in Asia it's because of the mentality of the people themselves. It's easier to generate like a big ummah, like a big family, like a big religion family. In Europe, you see way more little groups and little mosque groupings, and not very big institutions. So
it's more an imam-based community.
I think so. Yes, I think so.
Because that is the way that it works in the Middle East. It's your little group, your mosque that you go to, your imam, and that is who you follow, and he is the one who determines the interpretation of dubious or unknown or misunderstood sentences in the Quran.
But you have to consider also the surrounding, like the legal situation in every country. So in Switzerland, where I live, it's not so easy for a little community mosque to organize it and to show like the whole nation what you believe as a big ummah. You can only show it like a little small community group. Yes.
And was this the case also in the Kosovo?
Of course, in Kosovo it was very simple because you had the socialistic regime. You had somehow a semi half lived communism state, so to say, and there was the community very important. So you had little communities, and they looked after the community themselves. They don't have the resources to look also at the community and the village nearby. So you had really small communities, and the religion was just lived culturally and not like today with real big institution and commercializing Islam thing like today. Yeah.
Right. And there, what you are pointing out, I think, is very important. That is the social aspect of Islam. That is something that always amazes me. How people, I mean, everybody is immediately greeted with brother and sister and blah, 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 and you're not allowed to criticize. So this is one of the huge benefits of Islam, and this is why I think a lot of Muslims are Muslim, because of this social aspect, that they immediately are welcome. It doesn't matter where on this planet they go, there are always Muslims somewhere because of the sheer numbers, and you always have some sort of a social environment immediately ready for you, where I sometimes arrive in a country, I don't know anybody. And then the first, like 2 days, I will mostly stay in the hotel or walk around a bit, but that's it. And then it's only after a while that you get to know people, and then they, take you under their wings and they show you around. But as a Muslim, it's totally different. You will immediately go to the mosque and say, "Hi, I'm new here, blah, blah, blah," and somebody will always volunteer. So the social aspect in Islam is brilliant, and that is something that is very, very hard to beat. So, yeah. If somebody asks me, "Do you want a God?" Yeah, of course I want a God. I mean, it's brilliant to have this ulterior justice keeper and peacemaker and things like that, if it worked like that. And then, of course, you have the social aspect. So those are the positive aspects that I can see in Islam and in religion in general, if it only were not for the negative impact.
Well, there's an immediate negative impact of being in one social group, is that there's another bunch of people outside that social group that can't come in unless they follow a certain bunch of rules or whatever.
And that's it. This is
or just kill.
Yeah, and that's why Islam is taking this superior sort of attitude and saying, we are the best anyway, so the sooner you join us, the better. So I think that's the way that it works. And there you go. Then you don't have this problem anymore. The only problem then comes is if everybody is a Muslim, then you start looking at the individual interpretation differences, and then you start fighting amongst each other. So there you go. So, welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show, Mr. Jim. What have you got for us? What is your outlook on Islam?
I'm just here to spectate for now. It's just that I just saw that the channel was down, so I'm just here to spectate.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do this in future. If we're going to have this format, because this is a bit difficult. I don't know how you can actually join this with just...
Are there not other platforms you can use? Isn't there, like Ustream? Is that another platform you could use, possibly?
I don't know. I have not looked into it. I know that the Magic Sandwich Show is moved over to Vaughn, but they also have some technical problems there as well. So I do not know what the best solution is. I know that there's Ustream. I don't know, does Ustream still exist?
As far as I'm aware.
I don't know. I have not looked into this, but maybe if YouTube doesn't like us there, then we must look at alternatives. And I don't know if this is the best there is at the moment. I do not know. I just know that the Hangout is easily accessible. You just click on this and you're in and blah, blah, blah. And if you want to spectate like Jim, that's cool as well. And I know that there's a way of joining. I can't remember if you had to go to YouTube to do this or if you could do this from inside the Hangout that you just join and you can just listen in and see what people are saying. I don't know that. Okay, so we're talking about Islam. We're talking about what Islam represents in the 21st century and where this comes from and how the individual people react to Islam and what it represents for them. And what I find brilliant is that we have a lot of people here today with first-hand experience who know what Islam is because they've lived in the system. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to ask what made them leave, because I think this is so boring that people always ask, well, if you were a Muslim, what was the first thing that made you leave? Because I think it's very difficult to pinpoint. If somebody thinks about gods, why would anybody go and select the Islamic God over a Hindu or Rastafarian or Christian or Jewish God? Does anybody have any arguments? Has anybody heard any convincing arguments by by Islamopists why they should do that?
Right.
Because it's the true God.
I think we can safely assume no is the answer to that.
It's because of cultural reasons. I mean, it's because people are born in Muslim families, and even if those are not particularly adhering Muslim families, then they still they are kind of identify with the culture and all the.
I myself was brought up in a very liberal house, and my mother was a Muslim, and even as a liberal Muslim, I mean, she married a white guy. Let's put it that way. That's how liberal she was, and even a liberal Muslim. Would read the Quran in Arabic without understanding anything, and actually make her son do that as well. So I mean, that is a sort of level of indoctrination that we're looking at here. I mean, you're completely active, social, normal person, but then you go and do things like that. I mean, hello. You could have. That could go to way better places than just bleating Arabic. It's just that's one particular reason which I feel like a bit pissed off about Islam with.
Yeah, but I think there is a kind of a similarity between Muslims and Jews, for instance. We always see Jews as they're not just a religion. You have the religious aspect of it, but you also have an ethnic, cultural aspect of it. And even Jews that are atheists, which most are, they kind of have the sense I am a Jew, I'm a Hebrew, yada yada yada. Even though there's if you're not a Jew, you're just a white guy, really. But there is a cultural aspect to it. Yeah, exactly.
If you're not, you're European, because I mean, it seems like those Jews, the Jews of Europe, were obviously part of the Enlightenment and went along with it or whatever. Yeah. And those left behind in the Middle East, along with the Muslims, were not part of that Enlightenment, and there we go.
Yeah, well, there was this even the secular Zionists and stuff like that. They invoked, so 2,000
It was useful to them.
Yeah, 2,000 years ago, our people came here, yada yada yada. And
well, it's useful. It's useful.
But this
tugs on the heartstrings.
Well, it's not just use. It's not just pulling on the heartstrings. It pulls on their own heartstrings as well, because that's what really matters. What really matters is the feeling of having a culture with a history, and I think that's what ultimately is more important for Muslims than they don't just sit around, flicking their fingers until let's read the Quran for a second. Oh, it says here that I should kill infidels. Well, I guess I just no, that's not how it goes. It's more like a sort of like a feeling like the golden age of Islam and wow, our history, and they're trying to kill our people and stuff like that. That's the driving factor.
Well, obviously, we can't leave out the political meddling of the Western powers. Obviously,
no,
that does fuel a certain fire to a certain extent as well. With some legitimacy.
I'm not saying.
What is the driver that you are talking about? What is this? What that is driving people to the God of Islam? Is it the reward aspect, or is it the history?
I don't think that a lot of people are necessarily driven to the God of Islam. I think that people are driven to Islam because they want to feel part of the Ummah. They want to feel that they're Muslim.
It's identity.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I've never thought of it that way, I must admit.
Really? Wow.
Well, I'm not a Muslim, and I don't know a lot of, but from what I've seen,
yeah, but it makes sense.
If you think about it, if you say grow up in London like I did, I mean, it's a whole massive melting pot of different people. Yeah, it's kind of hard to sort of, I wouldn't say stick out, but I mean, in some ways you already do stick out because I guess you're not part of the sort of white Western kind of norm or whatever. But I mean, you're in a little hyper bubble in London, and it's kind of hard to sort of find out who you are sometimes, And I think a lot of, like you see the crazy Islamic guys doing the Sharia patrol. I mean, those are urban disenfranchised youths just clinging on to a new rebellion, a new punk, which is Islam,
Yeah.
But then this is what made the Nazis so popular, because then the people 70 years, 80 years ago went and said, we need to join this because this is up and coming and this is the new trend. So this is it's like a fashion trend that you try and join those who are successful and be part of the group.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not an eternal fact about Islam. That's obvious. I mean, 50 years ago, it wasn't like this. But you could say about sticking out. There's of course the physical aspect about that. Most Muslims are non-white. I mean, that's just the reality. And if you're a Jew and you decide you don't want to be a Jew anymore, then you become a white guy. And if you are, and if you're like, I'm Dutch, and there are, white and non-white people here, but there's sometimes, if you're dealing with like an Arab-looking person, you're like, oh, should I ask him for a beer? I don't know. He might be a Muslim.
Just give him a whiskey.
We have the same thing here in Malaysia, actually. In Malaysia, you have Chinese, Indian, and also the ethnic Malays. The ethnic Malays are the ones who are Muslims. So whenever somebody leaves Islam, they are seen as living their own culture, their own race, because it is tied in between Muslims and Malay in Malaysia, that they are one of the same thing.
Identity. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's a thing. Like I know there was like a newspaper article, and there was like we're talking about like Dutch Moroccans, and there was like there was this line. It was like, I'm a Muslim. Why? Because I'm a Moroccan, and Moroccans are Muslim.
Okay. It's a
Yeah.
bit simplistic, but I suppose it works.
Well,
But then that would account for why Islam is actually shrinking, because people have a problem with the acceptance that they are receiving by the rest of the world. And that would then, and this now is fascinating for me, because that would explain a couple of things, and I'm surprised I've never even thought of that. But then it would make sense, because now at the moment, there's a whole lot of negative influence coming from the Islam side because of the violence that Daesh is exhibiting, and then at the same time, all these scientific miracle claims that were made in the Quran 30 years ago have evaporated and have been shown to be just fabrication and lies. The Golden Age doesn't exist and didn't exist, and that is all fabrication. And now all of a sudden you have all these negative things adding up, and then it would make sense that you now leave the sinking boat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say like the political aspect is important, but of course when like these sort of like the like the Islamic ideology, man, English is hard, but
ideology.
When they embrace it, then of course it manifests in specific Islamic ways, and that's a bad thing. Like if they would all of a sudden identify as Mormons, then you have like the Middle East running around like rampant with people on bicycles, trying pressing people's doorbells, that's that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but it
wouldn't work. They are too far away from
Baghdadi. Sorry, that also explains Baghdadi saying, let's go back to the old splendor of the Muslims. That would explain that, because then that's exactly what they want to do.
Yeah,
they're out of ideas. They're out of ideas, completely out of ideas. And this whole stifling of ideas for the last 1,000 years, we're at the sort of zenith of this moment, aren't we, it seems.
Yep, I agree. I think it's downhill all the way now. It's true. Because people are, but it must be terrible. I mean, it must be terrible to be a Muslim, because everybody's laughing at you. People are pointing their fingers at you. Then you go back to the fundamental beliefs of Islam. Then that makes it even worse. Then you try and fit in. Then they call you a cultural Muslim. Then they don't take you like completely as a real thing. Yeah, you can't win nowadays.
Neurosis.
Well, to be little bit skeptic here, what makes you think that now we are in a time of real shrinking of Islamic ideology?
I don't.
Yeah, well, this question was more to stop.
Sure.
Sorry, this was me. I see it left, right, and center. I see it all the time. I see that people are being influenced by the Western lifestyle. People love their telephones, their TVs, their cars, their stuff like this. Islam does not provide for that. Khomeini famously said, Islam is not there to have fun. Islam is a serious business. You suffer in Islam. That is the whole point. It's a test. It's a life full of misery so that you can then experience the splendor during the afterlife. But people are looking at this. I mean, this is like communism. The same people were also promised, at some time we will be the greatest and blah, blah, blah. And people said, yeah, but what about now? I want my TV now. I want the car now. I don't want to wait for a telephone for 20 years.
So surrender your individuality to the state.
Well, but you compare. Okay, there are some comparison between Islam and communism. Okay, I give you that. But the Muslim don't have problem with consuming. Like you said, to use a phone or to use the internet or to use computers, cars, airplanes, and real streets and everything that brings you technology. They don't have the problem with that. So
they do.
I think as long as it's male dominated, they can do what they like.
That comes also to this point, yes, and the only ones who really have problem with this are the radicalized Muslim, like Daesh or like Saudi Arabia. But even in Saudi Arabia, the people have cell phones, and Daesh uses the cell phones for the action. So I personally don't see that they have much problems with all this using of these things. To inventing these things is another story. Yes.
No, it's not the using of the technology. I'm talking about other influences, fashion influences. I mean, girls are girls. They love makeup, perfume, and hairstyles and stuff like that. They don't want to hide under the stupid abaya or chador. Come on, they're women, and women.
It's the males that are causing the problems. I mean, you know, it's a complete male domination. The whole religion is steeped in you know, the penis basically, and the fear of the vagina.
Yeah, you need to be a little bit more, as Hamza Tzortzis would say, you need to be a little bit more nuanced here. No, I think you need to be a little bit, like he always says, we are the L'Oreal, I am worth a generation. No, come on. I mean, you need to look at the whole context here. You need to look at biology. You need to look at DNA. You need to look at functionality. You do need to take the gender into consideration here, that there are fundamental differences in the way that we approach life from a biological point of view. I'm not talking from human rights point of view. I'm talking biology here now. So there are things that do not fit in with Islam. You do not go and simply get a slave if you want to have sex. You don't just go and take a woman and decide, okay, I want to have sex with you now. It doesn't work that way, because the people are normal people. They look after their families. They have, I mean, the wife has one husband and the husband has one wife. They have 2 kids, and that is it. And they are trying to get through life and make it a good life for the kids. They go out on holiday. They go buy a car, get a house, things like that. It's the same everywhere in the world, and Muslims are no different. And this is what I'm saying. The only thing that they have from a political point of view, they have a problem with capitalism. They have a problem with democracy, because they have to believe that their God knows what is best for them because he created them. This is where the dilemma comes in. And this is why Islam is shrinking, because people can't consolidate the two. You can't consolidate the claim that your God created you and he knows what is best and you need to do what he does. And then on the other hand, you see you can live a totally different lifestyle, which is much more rewarding today, never mind the afterlife. And this is where the problem comes in, and this is where I see the shrinking of Islam.
Well, maybe like there's like another kind of like political, cultural consideration. It's like if people in the Middle East are not Muslims, then like they have to like shape their identity in another way. And if they shape their identity around secularism, then the epicenter of secularism, let's say, you know, the cultural heart of secularism lies in the West. So if you, as a Middle Easterner, subscribe to secularism, then you subscribe yourself as being in the periphery of the West. And I think that's really uncomfortable for people.
Yeah, but hang on, look at Japan. Japan manages to keep their own identity and and have a life.
Do they really? I mean, like, Japan is very dependent on Western culture and Western values. I mean, even Chinese people, like, they worship white people. You know?
Yeah, China more than Japan, but I maintain that Japan and South Korea have maintained their own identities.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but that's because of the circumstances in which they were formed. But if you like say now, like, you should become like a Western, like people say explicitly say a Western style secular democracy, like Persia and, you know, Turkey and stuff like that should become Western style secular democracies. Then you say like you should be, you know, peripheral secular states with with the West at the center. I mean, here in Europe, people tend to, a lot of people tend to be anti-capitalist just so they can be anti-American.
Can I?
Yeah, this is true. But I'm anti-America as well, but I'm not anti-secular. But you mentioned something interesting, and that is Turkey. We were talking about Turkey last week on the Jinn and Tonic. I have an idea of what is going to happen next week in Turkey.
I've not heard of it. What's going on?
No, I mean after the election. Does anybody have an idea? Because Erdogan apparently is being ousted. That people are sick and tired because he was the one that made Turkey an Islamic state. And now people are sick and tired of this and they don't want this anymore. So does anybody have any idea or any kind of further information what might be happening there?
I would like to make a prediction what could happen like last time on some elections about Turkey. Maybe again some cats in different cities will occur electricity blackout that the votes couldn't then be counted, and you see then the votes sacks in some trash cans. I think it could happen again.
That's probably correct.
I
and
think
if yes, then you are a prophet.
Would be. Also, I want, if I can, want to show you a little small clip that the Arabs can be still good Muslims and think about the afterlife and still use technology and haven't any problem with it. Let me show you.
Please, no pornography. I don't want to be banned here.
It's no problem. Oh wait, the video is here very broken. Crap. Let me just.
That definitely looks broken.
Yeah,
or is this the new Muslim standard of videos?
I think I can show you with the YouTube tool. I hope so.
But I don't really think that if I can just give some, I don't think that he is fed up with Erdogan at all. I mean, like from what I've gathered, Turkish nationalism. Well, from what I've kind of sense from that region is that Turkish nationalism is at an all-time high. And a lot of people are really on board with. The president there, he genuinely wins elections by popular vote. It's not really. There's no real corruption going on. It's just they're very Islamic and they're very sort of proud, Ottomans, yay, go us, kind of deal. So I don't think how fed up are people really? I'm sure there are people that are fed up.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people who feel embarrassed by Erdogan.
Yeah, but those are the people that you encounter. Those are the people that will seek you out because they are fed up. But I think in general that Turkey is.
Do you think it's a lot of people in the countryside that are voting for him, basically?
Well, that's I'm not an expert in Turkey at all, but that's the standard.
The video works.
That's sort of.
I would like to show you now.
Okay, Ike, hit it.
Looks like is that
unbelievable?
Syria or Pakistan?
This could be anywhere.
No, it's Arabia, Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
The thing is, he works on his weapon and just shoots, and the kids luckily didn't get hit, and he then just continue him cleaning his weapon. That's the mentality of a real Muslim who has no problem if his kids dies because he is sure of they go to the paradise.
Just because he's too stupid to unload the weapon properly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't really infer from this video alone what he was thinking. Maybe he was just shocked, you know. That's
true.
maybe he didn't like fun. Whoa, I'm okay or something like that.
No, he works after the shot. He works still on his weapons, calmly and without problem.
Wow.
I know if he does it calmly. I don't think you can really infer.
That's just one of so many crazy videos.
All right, sure, yeah, right.
It is, and I don't think it's symptomatic of anything. It's just one crazy video showing how relaxed somebody can be. I mean, I don't think if I would do that, I would immediately jump up and say, "Oh shit, I'm sorry," or whatever. I would show some reaction and not just sit and say, "Ooh, Chats, what did I do now? Okay, let me clean on cleaning."
The worst one I saw was the wedding. I think it was somewhere in Syria where the toddler got the gun out of the dad's belt and shot the dad.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, that was pretty harsh.
But you can show things from the United States that look like that as well.
Yes, you can.
Guns all over the place there.
Yeah, but but you can't say like this is because Americans know that they will go to heaven, and so they don't care if they shoot at you.
Oh goodness! Yeah, but this is the fatalistic sort of attitude, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's not what you would say when you would show a video of some weird guy in America or something like that.
I prefer the video of the flying horse in Mecca.
Yeah, that's a weird one. And I heard somebody say how they made this and why they made this and blah blah blah, but I can't even remember. I just thought it was strange. Okay, what other topic do we have regarding Islam? Because it doesn't make much sense to continue if we're not going to talk about anything.
Well, we could, there's the whole issue about, the boats going off the Mediterranean. There's a lot of, the European Union has, I think, tripled. This has been a while ago, but there was something in the paper today that Italy has gathered 5,000 people or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I'd like to know, has anyone seen any Muslim initiatives to help these people on the boats? Because I mean, all you ever hear is, you have.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
There's also Southeast Asia, where they have now decided that they will let people into the country, like in Indonesia, which they have rejected before.
The Rohingya.
And they want to. The funny thing is, this is always this sort of baffles me a bit. Why are the people so adamant in going to places which are non-Muslim? Why are they trying to get into Thailand so much? Why don't they actually go to Indonesia? Why don't the people from Libya or from Syria or something go to Saudi Arabia? Why do they come to Europe? It's for me always baffling. I mean, I can't understand why, if I hate the country so much, would I go there voluntarily when I'm trying to get away from misery? This I don't understand.
The identity aspect, I think, is playing its part.
Well,
I think people on the one hand are saying, I hate the West or whatever, and then on the other hand, thinking and doing the opposite.
Well, I mean, if they're from Syria, I would fucking leave there as well. I mean, whether or not I was that place is
obviously, yeah, completely.
Yeah, that place being destroyed.
Wouldn't you go to a Muslim?
Well, Europe.
Yeah, because it's very wealthy and stable there. I totally get it. I don't think that's like a contradiction involved. I wouldn't go to Saudi Arabia. I would go to fucking Greece or Italy. Because
why not to Jordan?
Because it's close by and you're not.
Because there's probably a hell of a lot of Iraqis there.
It's not. It's not as safe, Jordan is not.
Well, to be fair, I think Jordan and the Lebanon already took way more people.
Refugees.
Refugees.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Lebanon, Lebanon has like a quarter or a third of the population is refugees. So
yeah, I think the last figure that I've heard is like 90% of all the refugees from Syria and stuff are being, they're coming in the neighboring countries.
Okay, then I take everything back. Okay, but then I was wrong because I was under the assumption for some reason that they avoided those neighboring countries and went further.
No.
A lot of those terrorist groups came out of those countries.
In Turkey.
Sorry, now you spoke in stereo and nobody understood anything.
Right, go ahead, DNA.
I'm sorry. I was just saying. I mean, a lot of these refugees and some of them not so savoury people end up going to these countries, and then they form the groups which are now rampaging around the place. Formed out of these refugee camps.
That's another story. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen like a documentary from like a guy who went to the refugee camps in Turkey. They are really, really filthy. It's like it's not nice to be there at all. Like they have like one for every like 1,000 people. They have like one toilet block,
Yeah.
and it's just the shit piles up in these places. Like it's just like if you have children, then you will try to leave there as soon as possible. And I think like the wealthy West would be a place to go. I totally understand it.
The big elephant in the room here is Saudi Arabia, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'd love to talk about Mecca and amongst other things, and Saudi Arabia being just this complete. I mean, they're Israel's best friend. They're America's best friend. They are the overlords of Islam. I mean, it's a complete contradiction in terms.
Yeah, well, obviously Israel is not very keen on taking on millions of Syrians in this.
So why do you think Saudi Arabia is now being targeted by Daesh?
Well, I think they've got a problem with the monarchy, haven't they? Their ideology suggests that the monarchy shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but then this is like a caliph, isn't it?
Even though they're getting money from Saudi, but I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know who's giving it to them, or what prince has a problem with what other prince.
Yeah, but if you consider it to be a caliphate, then you should be okay again, shouldn't you?
What you mean? Okay with Saudi being a monarchy?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not the caliphate; it's the Saudi monarchy. It's like I think Klingscore or someone else said. It's like saying that this is Smith Arabia, or this is Bond Arabia. I'm just sticking random surnames on top of Arabia here. You know what I mean? You get what I mean?
Sure, it's the family. It's a Saud family, absolutely. Yeah. But the thing is that then you can consider this as being a caliph.
Well, yeah, but aren't these monarchy guys, infidels?
No, you see, this is the schizophrenic.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not denying that, of course.
Because the whole wealth of the country is in the hands of a couple of people, a handful of people. This is the problem. But in actual fact, if you look at the monarchy, it is it is a form of a caliphate, because the caliph is a King Abdul, that he is a king. Okay, then call him caliph instead of king. King caliph. I mean, it's not that far apart. And I think then you're looking at Wahhabi, in other words, very fundamentalist sort of interpretation of Islam. So I don't quite understand, because you have the same thing in Qatar, where you also have he's called an emir. But in actual fact, this is also a caliphate. So you have the caliphate of Bahrain, the caliphate of this and this and this, and there you go. It's like in the old days where you had the caliphate of Cordoba.
But Daesh to look at composed of a lot of Iraqi, fighters, aren't they? Who are going to be probably quite hostile to the Saudis.
Yeah, but that's different. They're Shia.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the sort of the former Baathists.
this is the whole point. They're not Sunnis. But here we have Sunnis and Sunnis. We have both fundamentalist Muslims, both going back to the old Wahhabi, Salafi kind of attitude that you're only going to look at the original versions of the first right-guided caliphs. Then they are almost identical. So
let's also not forget that Saudi Arabia is obviously an ally of Israel and America, according.
Okay, there you have a difference. I agree. Yeah.
You have also to consider the historic about the caliph itself. I mean, technically he has to be selected by the community, by the ummah, by the religious family themselves.
Yeah, you have the 4 criteria.
And I don't know if this you really have in the Daesh community, if they really played like an oath to the caliph and said, yes, we accept you, etc. I don't know that, and I never really read anything about Baghdadi calls himself a caliph. He maybe consider himself like a general to establish the state, and after the state is established with a border of the state, then he says to the people, let's select a caliph ourselves. And this you don't have in Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia you have clearly this monarchy, this ruler who with fightings just took land, and after that they made a deal
with the British.
No, not only with the British. They made a deal with the Wahhabis, and they said, okay, let's keep it this way. You look after the solution in the legal on the legal grounds about the people and what they can do, etc. in their family and in schools and etc. And we have the power of the country itself. So.
Actually, I think Osama bin Laden is a good example. I mean, you could look at as someone from Saudi who wants. There could be an ISIS now that would quite happily march into Mecca and kill off the royal family or whatever if he wanted to, Because he himself was a Saudi that was wanted to be a pious 7th century Muslim.
Well, there are some people who are saying that the whole Hajj commercial aspect in and around Mecca is being overdone, because I did the numbers once that all of the Disney resorts and places and what do you call all these worlds and blah blah blah, they only make a quarter of the money that Mecca makes.
Yes, funny that. Capitalism and Islam working hand in hand.
Yeah. And the king has decided that some of the old buildings, like the birthplace of Muhammad, has to go because his palace needs to be extended. So
well, there's a good reason to march in if you're in ISIS.
Yeah, but the thing is that you are antagonizing Muslims for no reason. Because Muslims, even though they're not supposed to worship all these places, they do. I mean, thousands go on pilgrimage to Hajj and to Mecca, and then sort of make a detour to Medina to see the grave of Muhammad, and they go and take a look at the cave of Muhammad and all these places which don't actually exist.
It's that meteor that does it for me.
What the pieces of the stone?
Yeah, that just does it for me. The black stone, that is just total. You can just see the history of it all there. It's just let's worship a rock. So it just fascinates me.
Well, isn't that like the part why ISIS is against Saudi Arabia as well? Because they think that the whole what the rock was called, the thing in the middle of Mecca. That's
the
idolatry.
Black stone, I believe.
Yeah, black stone. Yeah, that's basically idolatry, which it's
Yeah, but the whole thing. Look at the Kaaba. I mean, running around the Kaaba 7 times. You should have. Do you want to tell them? Do you still remember Mr. Wellhausen and the contents of his book?
Yeah, I do. Should I tell about a little bit about the Kaaba and the Black Stone?
Yeah, just some examples, because this is really salacious stuff.
I love it. Love it.
Well, it was a pre-Islamic thing, and you see most of these whole rituals. You see different gods had the different rituals, and the Black Stone was more likely the what we call today Aphrodite from the Greeks, or the Venus from the Romanic Empire goddess, and the surrounding around the Kaaba was a ritual for the Black Stone, and they did this ritual naked. And people, when I say people, this time, there were mostly men, did this naked, and the semen dropped from the penis. And there's a hadith who clearly say that the people did this, and Muhammad invented like the ruling. Yes, we still do this ritual. It's okay, do this. We will not make this disappear, but just take some sheet around you that you are not completely naked, but you are not allowed to wear underwear underneath. And the same goes with Arafat mountain, and what was the other name of the other mountain? Anyway, there are two mountains.
Mountain.
There are two mountains you as a Muslim have to wander from one mountain to the others, and this was a mountain god, a thunder god, separated the god, and a completely separated ritual. And today you have the whole Hajj is one ritual. You do the surrounding around the Kaaba, which symbolized the seven heavens, because the seven surroundings, seven heavens, and then you go to this mountain thing and stone the devil, and this stoning the devil was already established and symbolized a demon, not the devil himself like the Muslims understand today, but just a demon to give good omen to people, etc. You have three rituals that are today one ritual and are only Islamic. And if you confront a Muslim with this whole issue, they say, well, it was from the beginning Islamic, but the people corrupted it and made it something different, and Muhammad just re-established the real religion, etc. And if you want to,
convenient.
And just as a pointer, this is not something that you sucked out of your fingers. This is actually a well-documented book by a scholar.
I wanted to say that.
I heard that the Black Stone was stolen a few times as well. Some guys from Bahrain came down and decided they needed it.
That was way different about the 9th century or 8th century. They stole the Black Stone and they later brought it back. The book is from Julius Wellhausen. It's a German Orientalistic guy. He died long ago, and it's open public now. You can find it on archive.org, and it's what is the English title? Remainings of the pre-Islamic rituals.
The pagan rituals.
Pagan rituals or something like that. Just look about Julius Wellhausen and you will find it. It's an excellent book with tons of other informations about pre-Islamic things that got all of a sudden Islamic.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'm going to check that out.
And now I lost it, and I just wanted to mention something which I heard just now, and now I've lost it. What were we talking about?
Mecca.
Saudi Mecca. No, there was something.
Daesh about Mecca, maybe destroying Mecca because it's ideology.
No, I lost it. Damn. I hate it when that happens. I just had such a good idea and now I lost it again. Damn.
I just find it's so funny. I mean, the first thing that when you speak to someone about that, it's like, we're not pagan. It's not pagan, and then, you know, it's very defensive.
Christians have it. They all have it. Come on, you all have to remain. I mean, come on, you can't deny it. Why is Thursday called Thursday? Why is Sunday called Sunday? For crying out loud, how can you deny it? It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when Muslims pray to Kaaba. They say it's not idolatry because they are actually praying to Allah. But when pagans pray to an idol, that it's just the direction. They are praying to their gods. There's no difference there.
Yeah, completely.
Well, more interesting is if you ask them why this stone, because it's not mentioned in the Quran really. Why this stone? And then they say, well, we have good established hadith, etc. And then it gets really funny, because if you take the things with hadiths, you get them real mess up, I think.
Actually, that's one thing the Jinn and Tonic show has really done, is expanded or introduced me to the Hadiths. Wow, I just can't believe that they had to come up with that. I can completely believe they had to come up with it, actually. I'll take it all back. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. And there are various ways of looking at this. What is always funny is that Muslims try and tell me that the Hadiths were actually conceived all during the time of Muhammad. They were just lying around for 300 years until somebody went and collected them. But they have existed for 300 years. And then you confront them with
a child detective could figure it out.
Quran schools which were used to fabricate hadiths. What about that? But those are fake. They were all weeded out. How do you know which ones were weeded out and which ones were not? It's full of contradictions.
I believe in the video from Tom Holland, he said that the hadith is maybe political, from political agendas, like the stoning of adulteries. In the Quran, it says I think it was to whip them or something. So it's basically just justifying the period it was written.
Yeah, completely. I can see that being the case for sure.
Well,
I mean, you could argue that Islam may have been, you know, as the Hadiths were coming in, maybe there was so much fighting they had to make up some complementary, you know, literature in order to convince what remained of a faith that was possibly going down the tube then.
Well, I still maintain that it was born out of a necessity, because the Quran was conceived like as a very quick book that came out within a couple of years, and then they realized, oh shit, we forgot about this, now we need to go and fix it. And that's when they came out with all these things without actually fact-checking and without cross-checking what they'd already said. This is why there's so many contradictions. I mean, one hadith says you have to wash twice, the other one says you have to wash 3 times, and they're right next to each other. So and then they're saying, well, they're authentic. I said, well, which one is authentic? No, both. I said, well, how do you wash 2 times and 3 times at the same time? Do you wash 2.5 times? How do you consolidate
it was
that?
5 times. You have to add them up. You know, you don't understand.
Probably like that, yes. Or you subtract them and only wash once.
Of course, it was necessary to do that, the whole hadith thing. I mean, I don't think that the writers of the Quran didn't think about stuff, but they just didn't know better, and they couldn't do it better at the time. And later, after the spreading a little bit of this scripture, people asked, wait a second, what's about this mosque far away? What is this thing? Wasn't there only a mosque at Muhammad's place? What are you talking about? And then the whole hadith thing starts, because the people need to give some answers to a really important question, which the Quran couldn't explain. So, yeah, of course, it was necessary.
Because at the time when the Quran came out, it was obvious that you prayed 5 times, because the Zoroastrians prayed 5 times, the Yazidis were praying 5 times, so this was quite common. But then 100 years later, how do you explain that you need to pray 5 times? So they need to come up with some explanation for this.
Yeah, and the historical aspect of it is lost on most sort of cafe Muslims, it seems. They just want it. Again, it's an identity point, where if you bring up the matter of history, it's not valid in their discourse. They don't want to hear it.
Especially if you ask them to consolidate it and explain it and say what is the fact now, then they are unable to answer you.
Well, cool, yeah, it's frustrating.
Anything else?
Can I maybe respond, because I thought of something. Like I defended the identity aspect of Islam previously, but of course there's also the element of the cafe Muslims don't read the Quran and stuff like that. But there's also the issue of the Muslims that do read the Quran. Like there are a lot of radical Muslims, like they do read the Quran, and they are provoked by their imams that sort of fly from Saudi Arabia to Europe, to speak in all these mosques, and they give these interpretations and they spur people to read the Quran, and they do get radicalized with a sort of informed idea about it. So that's so it's not so yeah. There's always two sides of it. That's the annoying thing about this whole discussion. Like there are the Reza Aslams of this world that say it's just politics, it's just identity, and there's the Sam Harrises that say no, it's the intention and text and stuff like that. But it's always like there you will find people who actually do read the Quran and think like, oh man, I've not been radical enough. I've not taken it seriously enough, and now I'm kind of at the crossroads. Do I go like?
You just mentioned Reza Aslan. Have you ever read his book?
I've not. I'm just talking about the what I've seen from.
Yeah, because that's interesting in Reza Aslan's case. In TV shows, he gives himself as a very liberal, and he looks at every religion equal, etc. But if you read his book, No God But God, I think it's the English title. At the beginning, he's also liberal and see things in the context of history, like how the Shahada was implemented in the community, etc. And later in his book, you see like a really good line of Shia radicalization in his case.
Really?
In the last 3-4
Shia, okay.
Yeah, he's very Shia. In the last 3-4 chapters of his book.
So he's Iranian.
He's Iranian. You see this Sharia, this Shia mentality, very clear, very clear.
What can you give us an example?
Two people at once.
I can't give you right off the head an example, because I read this book 1.5 years ago and I forgot many things. I just made on Amazon in German, of course, big recension, I think it's called in English, a review, just a simple word, a review about the book, and I made it very clear and give also examples there, but right off the head I can't give you real examples. He just sees you see the Shia mentality if he calls more and more the Ali and Hassan and Hussein
okay, so he's idolizing those guys.
Perfect examples of how a Muslim should be today, etc. Yeah, right.
Oh well.
Another
It's a pity
topic I
that
don't know
Allah
about.
is not here to give us the hadith of the day, because this was always entertaining. And I'm on the small laptop at the moment where I don't have the hadith collection, so I can't even go and look for one, because those are always hilarious. The ones he comes up with, they're so funny. And it shows you. I mean, I always say, if you want to be a Muslim, you have to accept what is in the Quran. So you have to accept that ants can talk and that a piece of steak can revive a corpse. Otherwise, you cannot be a Muslim. But you cannot demonstrate it. You cannot ever demonstrate those two things, but you need to believe them. You need to say, well, there's a God and it's a miracle. No, I can never show you any recording of me chatting with an ant or me slapping a corpse with a piece of steak and it gets up and I can never show you this, but I believe it's possible. That's ridiculous. That's ludicrous.
I love that steak one. That's just hilarious. That is. I want to have that conversation. You know.
You want to have what conversation?
I want to have that conversation, the steak corpse conversation, with the believer.
Oh, okay. No, I've had this, okay. And there's two steps. The first step is they deny that it exists. So you say, okay, go to 273 and read it. Then they read 273, but it doesn't say anything about the cow. I said, well, go to 272, and then you will see that it talks about the cow. Ah, yes, it talks about the cow. Yeah, but this is in Muhammad days, in Moses days. So I said, so it's not true, it's not possible today. No, it is. Yeah, but what was it got to do with Moses or not? Yeah, but this was a miracle. I said, well, if it's a miracle, is it possible, yes or no? Is it still possible today? Well, if God wants it to happen today, then it's possible today. And end of story. And this is how they justify it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's not much you can do about that.
No, and it's such a cop-out, and they don't understand that it's a weak cop-out on top of it. For them, this is perfectly reasonable. It's the best. Have you heard LDM when they go and like, this is the best explanation? Because Hamza told them, all you have to do is say best explanation, and then everybody shuts up. It's so stupid.
Those guys are a disgrace. They really are. They're just so GCSE level. It's ridiculous.
It's so funny. Well, I had a lot of fun during that month making those videos about them, and they're all gone now. Shit.
Yeah, they're pretty quiet now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was going
sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say that I was going to make another video because I was going to continue now my series on reading the Quran, because I was having a lot of fun taking that apart. And then I was going to go, because Ike made a brilliant animation for me of the planet Earth. And then what he managed to do is insert arrows which from any point of Earth were pointing towards Mecca. And it looked like a rolled up porcupine, because they were pointing all over into naked empty space. So this is what Muslims are doing. And then I found a city, and I can't remember the name now, in Canada, which was called Bland or something like this. And I showed that this was exactly opposite. So if you went like down, you ended up in Mecca. But if you went over the North Pole, you also ended up in Mecca. Or if you faced to the west, you also ended up in Mecca. So this place was like a miracle, because it didn't matter where you looked, you always faced Mecca. So what is a Muslim going to do now? Number one, it doesn't get dark there for 3 months, and it doesn't get daylight for 3 months. Because the sun doesn't set. So how do you fast when it doesn't get dark and the sun doesn't rise or set? Then if you want to pray to Mecca, do you go, this is the animation, this is the one, exactly. Ike, thank you very much. You're a star.
And listen and look. Wait.
You see, I can only talk, and he's the action man. But this is the one he provided for me, and I was going to use this. Hang on, let me click on this so that it stays up, because this is quite nice. So you can see here that wherever you are, you're pointing out into empty space if you are pointing towards Mecca. And I was going to use that when I was reading the sentence in the Quran about facing Mecca, how stupid that is, that it only works on a flat earth. And that from this place in Canada, you could face the North Pole, you would face Mecca, go west or east or wherever, and the Muslim cannot decide in which direction to pray. because his God doesn't help him, so he has to go to his imam, and then the imam tells him, well, you need to face to the east to make it as authentic as possible.
And more important is now you see the summer. Before it was winter, the whole time just darkness. You don't have any fasting time, and now you in the north you have to fast the whole summer.
I'm going to switch this off again. Okay, the problem is that then Islamopists will then go and say, well, actually, because we use smartphones today to calculate when fasting starts and when fasting stops. And then I will say to him, what time zone do you take? Do you take Mecca, or do you take something else in Canada, or do you take the United States? Do you use Miami, or do you use Los Angeles? What is it that you use? And they can't answer these questions. It's hilarious.
I mean, it's no wonder that they seem to. It's so much time spent on ritual that. I mean, is it any wonder that they haven't sort of contributed, or the Islamic world has stagnated in its contribution towards ideas when they're so busy ritualizing everything? Yeah. Excuse me.
This reminds me of one case of a Malaysian astronaut. He was a Muslim, and there are over 100 scholars trying to decide how does he pray in the International Space Station, because the Earth keeps moving around and there's no gravity in space.
Wow.
Well, the problem that he had is that they have a sunset and a sunrise every 90 minutes. So when these scholars now came together to decide, number one, how does he pray 5 times in 90 minutes? Because he would be praying non-stop. And then in what direction would he pray? Because Mecca is whizzing past underneath because they're traveling at 28,000 kilometers per hour. So, you know, that doesn't work.
What he needs to do is he needs to step out of the airlock.
Yeah, and what? Stay behind
and
wait
float
until the space station comes back 90 minutes later to pick him up again, or what?
Just get in orbit and float in tandem.
Yeah, but he can't. He can't face Mecca.
I don't know. It's just silly.
And it shows how silly it is. So Ace is 100% correct. Ace, do you know the story why he went to the space station?
I believe Malaysia made a deal with Russia.
You know the whole story. Excellent. Exactly. Yeah.
We bought a fighter plane, jet fighter plane.
Exactly.
And they had one seat for an astronaut. Exactly. That's it. He didn't contribute anything, I think. He just went there as a passenger.
Well, he filled the toilet.
Oh my God, yes.
So welcome to Islam. Yeah, and the funny thing is that this has been, because you're saying that there's no contribution made by any Muslim, anything useful. Because
there has actually. I didn't mean to say that. I mean that was Salam Weinberg thing. I'm not a physicist, so I don't know. But I mean, there was a Pakistani Ahmadi scientist who was responsible for something very important, which I've got on the tip of my tongue, which I can't remember. Something to do with something very recent about. And his grave is desecrated because he's the wrong type of Muslim. They don't,
exactly.
They don't celebrate that.
So he's not a Muslim. So the only Muslim that they have left was from the Nobel Prize winner from 1999, which was Mr. Zewail. And Mr. Zewail was an Egyptian who was living in the USA, studying in the USA, working in the USA, and writing the paper in the USA. But he happened to be a Muslim, so he's the only one. So he is the only Muslim who has ever, in the 114-year history of the Nobel Prize, who has received a scientific Nobel Prize, the only Muslim. No, other than that, this is why they have to fabricate it. This is why they have to fabricate all these funny scientific miracle claims in the Quran. This is why they have to go to the Golden Age and say that Khwarizmi and Haytham and
they're clutching at straws.
No, it's lies. It's blatant lies.
Oh, lies even, right? Yeah.
Why 1001 Inventions is so angry with me. This is why they're trying to kill me. Because, well, I mean, not killing me physically, but killing me in my channel and everything. They are the reason why today the Gin and Tonic show is gone, because they cannot handle the truth, because they are only alive and they're only doing one thing, and that is making false claims regarding the golden age of Islam 1,000 years ago. And they are saying that Al-Haytham did this, and Firnas was the one who, invented flying and blah, 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 and all this shit. And then when I showed them that this was not the case, then they changed it. Now they said, well, Al-Haytham was experimenting with the camera obscura, where before they said he invented it.
Yeah, propaganda.
Firnas may have been the first one to fly, or maybe the first one who thought about flying. He wasn't. He covered himself in feathers and jumped off a roof, and almost killed himself. But this is the level that we're at. This is the level of disingenuous that we are dealing with here. And this is the problem. There's nothing that they have to show for anything, and then they have to go and fabricate it because it's for establishing false pride. That's what they're doing.
But again, the identity of being Muslim gets in the way of progression,
Exactly.
Because they're so busy, protecting their sacred text. Yeah. They can't look to the truth, it seems. I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to get out of that without sacrificing some amount of pride, which, again, seems to be a theme.
I've been crying enough, that's it. It's 10 o'clock, it's time to go. We've had more than 2 hours. Watch everything on YouTube. If you want, I mean, this is so frustrating that this is going to disappear, and then that's it.
You're not going to watch it on YouTube.
The show will rise.
So you're not going to watch it on YouTube, are you?
No, it disappears. Whatever we said has not been captured, and it will be gone forever.
Well, most of it is captured here.
Appreciate you joining in.
I've had a lot of fun.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
I'm going to do this again next week, and maybe we'll get some more people in, and maybe we'll solve it. Maybe we'll go over to Ustream. I'll have to check if that still exists, and Vaughn or one of the other things. And now everybody go watch the Magic Sandwich Show.
Right, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.